important first to say good morning to you. And just to say a little background about myself as a person. It may be surprising to many of you. I could have given the lecture this morning in about 8 different languages. Any of 8 different languages. I could have given you the lecture in the language of my father, Amharic, or Agu, which are 2 languages of Ethiopia. I was born in northwest Ethiopia in a place called Gondar. Or I could have given you this lecture in Spanish because of the background of my mother, who came from Los Pueblos de Cariduros, Fajardo in Puerto Rico. And I could have done it in other languages. My education is a very humble one. I came from Ethiopia to Brazil at an early age, around 1924, when my father was working for the Lejasu government, which was overthrown by Selassie. When the overthrow took place, we had to find a place to live, and we decided to go to my mother's country. And so from Brazil, we went to Cuba, where we stayed 2 years, getting out the paper straight, and then we went to Puerto Rico, to Fajardo. I grew up in Puerto Rico and Santa Cruz, which is today called St. Croix, because my father was a lawyer and he practiced between both of these islands. I went to school in Puerto Rico, my high school, and then the University of Puerto Rico, and then the University in San German, School of Agriculture and Engineering, and where I graduated as a civil engineer. I then left there, went to Cuba, and took a master's in engineering and a doctorate in anthropology, cultural anthropology. Left Cuba and went to Spain and took a doctorate in Moorish history. Then I thought it was time to work. I went to work and took some other degrees. I took my last degree in law at La Salle University in Chicago, United States of America. So that's more or less my training, and I've done a number of jobs, including my work with the United Nations, and my last job in the United States was at Cornell University, where I taught for 17 years and retired about 2.5 years ago. And whereas you were taught in school that all you know come from either Judaism, Christianity, or the Greeks and the Romans, and that's a bunch of lies.
As I say, in war, we need everyone. And as I say, and I always said before, up with a black man, woman, put her to the top, to the highest, worship her, she is God. Amen. All right. Give a big hand.
Brothers and sisters, we are here tonight to celebrate one of our national treasures. No one in modern history has done more to physically return us to the crown and glory of African history than our brother and elder, Dr. Yosef Ben Yekinen. Not only has he written more than 20 books on African history, but he has personally taken more than 15,000 African Americans back to the black land, back to Kemet, to see with their own eyes and touch with their own hands the historical proof that their ancestors gave to the world the greatest of all gifts, the gift of civilization itself.
Well, I've learned that for one, this is not a European country.
I feel the American educational system has robbed us as a people.
It has, very much so.
How?
It hasn't taught us very much about our ancient culture.
What does coming here do for you?
It does everything. It's like being born again, anew.
In the sense that we have not been told the complete story. We've been told from when we came on the slave ships and not before. So this is a great revelation and a great mental adjustment in that our minds are being freed, in a sense, in a real sense, which is necessary.
How do you feel, brother?
I feel angry because of the greatness of our ancestors and considering how much of our positive history have been denied us only for the advancement of the Europeans.
In 1982, I made my first trip to Africa with Dr. Ben. We journeyed first to the ancient land of Ethiopia, mother of Egypt. After leaving Addis Ababa, the capital, we landed our plane in a pasture close to the village where Dr. Ben was born.
Of course, the village is in bad condition now because the people had abandoned it and went to Israel. And because of racism in Israel, they came back. And they tried to, of course, it took them some time to rebuild since the government didn't include it, the government didn't encourage it. So it is in deplorable condition, so to speak. Next, not 30 miles from here, there's a place called Beganda. And it is in there that most of the group of Beta Israel, otherwise called Falashas, with whom my family came up and myself was born. Now you say, was I born in that village? Yes, but my mother and father lived in Addis at the time, and my father felt that I should be born in the village where he was born, so my mother was brought here just for giving the birth.
Early the next morning, Dr. Ben took us to explore the beginning of the Blue Nile. The Nile originates from two sources. One place is here, in the highlands of Ethiopia at Lake Tana. No one knows the source of the waters that feed this lake, but its mighty flow falls from the highlands of Ethiopia and cuts its way through rock and earth to meet the White Nile in the Sudan. Here the White Nile, whose origin is in the highlands of Uganda, spins a Russian courtship and marries the Blue Nile at Khartoum. From this point onward, the Blue and White Nile are one, cutting their way through the desert, becoming the only source of water and the highway by which so much of civilization was spreaded to other parts of the world. Dr. Ben is one of the few African anthropologists who has actually done excavation along the Nile. This is one of his research sites here in Aswan, Nubia. He has traveled this Nile from one end to the other, studying, teaching, even at the famous University Al-Azhar in Cairo, documenting the African origins of Western civilization.
That we are practicing as African people.
Well, the basic concept of the Christian baptism is to show that Jesus Christ was different than regular man. He had a sense of purification. His sins or whatever it was, move him. The difference between him and man, he was baptized by this special kind of water. We know that it came from this, not necessarily this part, but the concept. Here you have the baptismal or purification of the Pharaoh. The god Tahuti or Tut, the god of the scribes, along with god Horus, baptizing the Pharaoh, Ptolemy 12. The baptism is done with holy water. The water is symbolized by the Ankh and also the Was, W-A-S. The Was is the greatest symbol. Here is a Was. This is a Was. This staff with what appeared to be a goat head. And here is an Ankh. They took the Ankh and the Was, joining them together intermittently, and created the water. And thus you have Ankh Was. Ankh was all the way. This is the purification rite, because the Pharaoh cannot be installed, coronated, without being purified. The removal of all his wrongdoing, because since he's going to be the Pharaoh and he's going to represent the people with the admonitions of Ma'at, I have not done any wrong, I have not committed murder, I have not robbed, I have not speaking with an ill tongue, to make sure he has to be purified, like Jesus was purified. And just so, the school system, education system, was centered around the temple. First it was the temple or grand lodge, as they were called, lodges, at Saqqara. That's in the Old Kingdom. Then in the Middle Kingdom, it moved to Waset, now called Luxor. The Greeks had called it Thebes. It is in this citadel of wisdom that man conceive of the universe in mathematical terms. Man conceived in such a way that he was able to develop a constant for dealing with the radius from where he sits to the next planet, the moons and suns, which we get as 3.14, so forth, called pi by the Greeks. Trigonometry, spherical geometry, the theorem which Pythagoras copied and carried to Greece and so forth, all centered around spirituality, religion, as it had been when Galileo and others were murdered by the church, the same church which had been carrying on, but the church got scared that they were going to lose the power to the general people and murdered some of the greatest shining stars. But it was at these centers of learning, education center, which the European calls the mysteries, that these Africans had started. It's there that they built up the world's first calendar dealing with astronomy and astrology. Astrology not in the sense of my sister falling in love with my brother and all that kind of thing, but astrology as the correlated science to astronomy. Astronomy dealing with the measurement distance from one planet to the other, etc. Astrology, the physical reaction, such as low tide, high tide. Man called this Masonified mathematics because man put it into the stone builders when he started first, like Imhotep when he first built the first stone structure. Man didn't have to build in wood no longer, therefore structures can last. And that's why Egypt is studied more than any other part in Africa, because Egypt started building in stone before anybody else. And stone survived, whereas the wood petrified and otherwise suffered decay. Even though Egypt isn't the oldest, she is the oldest where they record. But we have every record from the Egyptian. We came from the beginning of the Nile, where God happy dwells, at the foothill of the mountain of moon. I just recited from the papyrus of Hunefa, where the ancient Egyptians said they came from the foothill of Kilimanjaro and Rwenzori, where the Nile starts, in Uganda and Ethiopia.
I make sure that I said that. And I said the oldest woman was known as an African. So in the morning, if they dig up one older, I am still correct. But you make the mistake and tell white people, the oldest woman is a black woman. How you know? Did you find some pigment on her bones? No, you didn't find that. When we find Denknesh, you call her Lucy. I don't know anybody named Lucy in Africa, unless you went there, or unless the missionary mess up with you. But Denknesh is an Ethiopian woman, 3.2 million years old. And you gonna talk about Adam and Eve? When I got to go there about age, I'm talking about Zinjan supposed boise. And you gonna tell me about Adam and Eve? 1.7 million against 6,000, not even 6,000, 5,000, that's what they're celebrating this week. I mean, be reasonable. We got to move. We got to be, if we're dealing with reality and we're going to challenge something, if you're telling me that you're at City College and you flunk math, and you come to me as a professor, as some of them used to try to do at Cornell, but let me tell it to you orally. We can do it better orally. I said, like hell, you're going to write it down. I know you could write it down because when nobody else was writing, science, math, you were writing it here. I could carry you, and I carried many of you in here right up to the Holy of Holies in Karnak Temple, what it, and show you the number system and the wall. Anything I told you, I carried you. That's the point. How could you go and see it and come back and then lie to yourself and say, no, it got to be the way Uncle Charlie taught me. Give me the old-time religion. This is the old-time religion, not the junk you're telling me about. I carried you and show you Osiris laying down flat on his back with a hard on. The first resurrection story. Resurrection ain't got nothing to do with nobody named Jesus. Osiris' penis was resurrected because Isis went to God Ra. Osiris was murdered long before the Cain and Abel nonsense. Murdered by his brother Set Typhon. I'm using the Greek name. Those are the one you love. So I use them. So we got Set. Set ain't got nothing to do. The name Set, they adopted for Adam and Eve. But that's where it comes from, Set. Osiris, the brother of Set. And there's another brother they don't speak of much called Mendlusi. We'll deal with him later. And Set killed Osiris, the bad god, you call it devil, killed the good god. And this loyal sister. See, why I love black women like I love them? Because I learned the way to love black women where black men said how to love black women from the beginning of black men reasoning in high culture isn't there. But to make sure Osiris in the resurrection, and notice where the penis is, at the umbilical cord, not at between here, at the leg. Isis went to God Ra after he had been killed, cut up 14 pieces, one piece thrown eaten by the Nile catfish. God Ra allowed, I got to cut short the story, allowed the penis to resurrect so that goddess Isis, coming as a little bird, could sit, and I know it's Isis because I saw this. Her name, and her sister Nephthys was behind her. And the goddess, the Hecate, the frog goddess, saw the action. And Tahuti, the god Tahuti, recorded the event, the god of scribe. I know that. And Isis sat on the penis of Osiris and received the sperm. Here where the Christian copied it in the story of Matthew. And a man named Joseph was walking or coming through the land. And there was this girl named Mary, this Jewish girl. And he stopped and talked to her and tell her much he cared about her and everything going. He betrothed her. I'm engaged to you. You're mine. You're virgin. And he went on, and 3 months later he come back and she's big with child. He didn't touch her. Baby, what's wrong with you? I'm pregnant. Bitch, thou art a whore. Thou art a whore. That's why the Christians moved the book of Matthew first and put the book of Luke after. And up to the Nicene Conference was the book of Luke. But Luke said to a woman, a child will be born. Matthew said to a virgin. Two different states, but a woman. And the word Virgo didn't mean hymen. That came later. Thou art a whore. And the angel of the Lord came tonight and said, Joseph, think not ill of the woman, for what she has in her didn't come by man, but by an angel, a bird. Didn't come by man, but a bird. He is the Christians, and they came and tried to chop out the evidence. You saw it. Sister Jeff, you saw it. Jeff, you saw it. And many more here. Sister Franklin, you saw it. And I could go down the line, almost all of you saw it. Now, how could he say something else? You saw where they tried to dig out the evidence. And I'm talking about the cracker Christians. I'm not even talking about the black ones. Huh?
Dr. Ben is more than a historian. He is master in the craft and high priest of the lodge. As such, many come here to the ancient temples to renew their wedding vows.
In the tradition, we do not join two people. It is not the custom anywhere in the continent of Africa to join two people. We join two families, two villages, two waters. We are come here to join you as we join the lotus flower with the papyrus.
Many have accused Dr. Ben of being raw and common.
Brothers, where is heaven? All right.
In some academic circles, he has been shut out. But rather than give up his integrity and his commitment to his people, he replaces the pain with love. And the masses love him back. They shout for more.
How can a people take my symbols and the money they ever seen, I am Horus, and all those things, to put on the money because they had nowhere else? From Washington, and every one of them copied everything I had in my society. My symbols of ethics. Tell the Jews, Friday, I want my goddamn 10 Commandments back. Tell them to tell Moses, bring it back from where he stole it at the Grand Lodge of Wasset, which they call Luxor. Yeah, tell Diane Ravage because I know she's got her little scout here. You tell Diane, give her your radio, give her your Japanese recorder so that she can hear good, amplify it good. You got my permission? Yeah? It's war. Little Auntie Hazel Dukes, Jemima's little girlfriend, little Charlie McCartney Wrangle. He lives in the building where I stay, 40 West 135th Street. He got angry with me and challenged me when I talk about his trip to Israel when he came back as Charlie Wrangelberg and the Marine came back as Dickenstein. The Marine was crying today. And the Marine who took office from Edwina Koch. I'm going to wind it down because, you see, what good is the titles? You know, from now on I'm asking you to call me Ben. Joseph Ben Yekana. This is serious business. I don't have any use for the Crackers PhD anymore. Some of us, I use it against him long enough. I don't need the sucking of his PhD. Because you could see, they call you doctor and shove the shiv in your behind at the same time. They call you doctor and they punch a hole in you like they punch it in the brothers at Attica. I'm not fool. I'm no fool. I read that sick, consumptive guy that wrote your constitution and all kind of stuff. When he said, be it resolved that all men are created equally. That bastard knew he was lying down to his mother's teeth. Because he had slaves when he was saying that. And he was going with a slave woman when he was saying it. So don't tell me all about this highfalutin nonsense about English grammar. You say we are when you want the grade. Say it. As you get the grade and you finish, you say we is. Use them as they have used you. Because in war, we need everyone. And as I say, and I always said before, up with a black man, woman, put her to the top, to the highest, worship her, she is God. Dr. Ben. All right. Give a big hand.
It was the home of many great dynasties who created science and astronomy. Greeks found out about the past. Now in case you wonder what else they did, the Akabulans created the pyramids. And before Napoleon could even blink, in Akabu there stood a giant sphinx. Some say they came from outer space, but they are a part of the human race. You know the place where they can be found, and you may be the one who can wear the crown. And I'm the greatest dancer with the baddest shoe, not the slickest rapper that you ever knew. Have worn the crown, though they wanted to, but they'll want to until they die. I'm not a man of science with a PhD, not a lady of law, master's degree. Will wear the crown unless they can see a unique reality. You see, when you say you wear this crown, make sure you know it is profound. In case it sounds like a mystery, I'm talking about our story. You are Cleopatra, queen of the Nile. The sun would wink when it saw you smile. You are the Hannibal of the history book, and the earth would tremble at your very look. You are the builders of the pyramids. You are the face up on the Sphinx. You roll on the Nile in grace and style. Look at yourself today and think. I see the hieroglyphics upon the wall, but the dancers on the floor, they will not fall. If you take one look, you will astound. According to Dr. Ben, we wear the crown. Who did it to all of us, you know what I mean?